The lights went out the moment she said his name. Not flickering, not dimming, just gone. 1 second. Victoria Hale stood in a room built entirely on control. Glass walls stretching 30 feet wide overlooking the city. Every inch of her penthouse designed to remind people who she was. The next second, darkness swallowed everything. She didn't scream. She didn't step back. But her breath caught. Just once. And that was enough to change the room. That's not normal. A voice said behind her. Low. Calm. Too close. Victoria turned sharply, the silk of her white dress shifting against her frame, catching faint light from the skyline beyond the glass. The fabric moved with her. Subtle. Controlled. But not enough to hide the tension in her shoulders. You're early, she said. Voice steady again. Already rebuilding the version of herself the world knew. Billionaire. Untouchable. Unshaken. Marcus Reed didn't answer right away. He stood just inside the threshold, tool bag resting at his side. Posture relaxed, but not careless. His eyes moved once across the room. Not admiring. Not impressed. Just registering. Details. Angles. Patterns. Things most people missed. You called for a light, he said finally. Simple. Direct. Like that was all he was. Victoria took a slow step toward the kitchen island, heels clicking softly against marble. And now it's off, she replied. Her tone carried just enough impatience to feel familiar again. Safe. Controlled. She reached for her phone. No signal. That made her pause. Just for half a second. Marcus noticed. He didn't comment. Instead, he moved past her without asking. Close enough that she felt the shift in air between them. Not intrusive. Not hesitant. Just precise. He set his bag down near the wall panel. Fingers already working before most people would have started asking questions. Backup system should have kicked in, he said, almost to himself. Victoria watched him now. Really watched. Something about the way he moved didn't match the job. Too efficient. Too certain. Electricians didn't usually walk into billion-dollar homes like they'd seen worse. She folded her arms. The line of her posture sharp again. But her gaze stayed on him longer than it should have. Then fix it, she said. A command. Familiar territory. Marcus reached up, removing the panel with a single smooth motion. His hand paused midair. Not hesitation. Recognition. This isn't just a light issue, he said quietly. The words landed differently. Not defensive. Not speculative. Certain. Victoria's expression didn't change. But something behind it shifted. Explain, she said. He didn't. Not yet. Instead, he adjusted something inside the panel. Quick. Deliberate. The lights surged back on. Bright. Immediate. The room returned. But it didn't feel the same. Victoria blinked once, adjusting to the sudden brightness. And when her vision settled, she realized Marcus was no longer focused on the wall. He was looking at her. Not at her dress. Not at the room. At her. Like he'd already figured something out. She held his gaze longer than she intended, then stepped closer, just enough to change the distance. The fabric of her dress shifted again, catching light as she leaned slightly forward, voice lowering without permission. Then what exactly did you just fix? She asked. Marcus didn't answer. Not immediately. And in that silence, something unfamiliar settled in the space between them. Something neither of them had planned for. Victoria did not step back. Most people did when they realized someone was not playing by the expected script. She did not. She held his gaze. Steady. Controlled. But something quieter moved underneath it now. You did not answer my question, she said. Voice even. Precise. But softer than before. Marcus turned slightly, not breaking the distance, but shifting just enough to put the panel back into place with a clean, final click. I fixed what was visible, he replied. Not defensive. Not complete. Victoria narrowed her eyes just slightly. That kind of answer usually irritated her. It should have. Instead, it held her there. And what is not visible? She asked. He did not respond immediately. Instead, he walked past her toward the far side of the room. His steps measured, quiet against the marble floor. He stopped near the glass wall, looking out over the city lights stretching miles into the distance. 30 floors below, traffic moved in steady lines, unaware of anything happening above them. You have a secondary circuit running behind your main system, he said finally. It is not standard. It should not be there. Victoria's posture tightened, just slightly. Not enough for most people to notice. Enough for him. Everything in this building is custom, she replied. That does not make it wrong. Marcus turned his head just enough to look back at her. No, he said, but it makes it easier to hide something. Silence followed. Not awkward. Not empty. Heavy. Victoria walked toward him now, slower than before. Her heels quieter. Her movements more deliberate. The fabric of her dress shifted with each step, catching the light in subtle waves. She stopped a few feet away, close enough to feel the tension, but not close enough to touch. You are making assumptions, she said. It sounded like a correction. It felt like a test. Marcus nodded once. Yes. That was it. No explanation. No attempt to justify. Just acknowledgement. That unsettled her more than disagreement would have. She crossed her arms again. But this time, it was not about control. It was about holding something in place. You are here to fix a light, she said. Not to analyze my systems. Marcus looked at her fully now. Calm. Direct. Then I am done, he said. The words landed differently than she expected. Not final. Not dismissive. Just complete. He reached for his tool bag, lifting it with one hand. No hesitation. No delay. Like leaving had always been the plan. Victoria felt it before she understood it. That shift. That space opening again. The same pattern. People came in, did what they were told, then left. Always left. Her jaw tightened slightly. That was fast, she said. It was meant to sound indifferent. It did not. Marcus paused. Just for a second. Not turning around yet. The problem you asked for is fixed, he replied. He started toward the door. Victoria watched him take 2 steps. 3. And something in her chest pulled tighter than it should have. Marcus. His name came out before she decided to say it. He stopped. Slowly. Turned just enough to face her again. Not fully. Not yet. She took a step forward without realizing it. Then another. Closing the distance she had kept so carefully before. If there is something else, she said. Her voice lower now. Less certain. You should say it. Marcus studied her for a moment. Not her position. Not her status. Her. You already know there is, he said quietly. Victoria held his gaze. This time, she did not look away. The room felt different again. Not darker. Not brighter. Just smaller. Like everything outside those walls had stepped back. She inhaled slowly, steadying herself. But her next words did not come out the way she expected. Then why did you not leave sooner? Marcus's expression did not change. But something behind it did. Because you did not want me to, he said. And that was the first time she did not have an answer. Victoria did not move right away after his words settled in the space between them. Because you did not want me to. The sentence lingered longer than it should have. Like something that had already been true before either of them said it out loud. She let out a slow breath. Barely noticeable, but enough to shift the line of her shoulders. You are assuming a lot for someone who just walked into my home, she said. But the edge in her voice had softened. Not gone. Just less sharp. Marcus did not step closer. He did not step back either. He stayed exactly where he was. Grounded. Like the room adjusted around him instead of the other way around. I am observing, he replied. Simple. Controlled. Victoria tilted her head slightly, studying him now with more intention. And what exactly have you observed? She asked. This time, it was not a challenge. It was curiosity dressed as control. Marcus's gaze moved once across the room again. Slower this time. More deliberate. Your system did not fail, he said. It was interrupted. Victoria's expression held. But something flickered behind her eyes. That is not possible, she said immediately. Too quickly. Marcus noticed. He did not point it out. It is, he said calmly. And it was done in a way that does not trigger alerts. Silence stretched again. But it felt different now. Tighter. More focused. Victoria turned away from him, walking toward the glass wall. Her reflection catching in the window as the city lights framed her silhouette. The white fabric of her dress moved slightly with each step, soft against the hard lines of the room. She placed one hand lightly against the glass, her posture still composed, but no longer distant. If that were true, she said slowly, I would already know. Marcus shifted his weight just enough to change his angle toward her. Not if you were not meant to, he replied. The words landed heavier than anything before. Victoria's fingers pressed slightly against the glass, then relaxed. She stood there for a moment without speaking. For the first time since he arrived, the room felt like it belonged to neither of them, just a space holding something unresolved. She turned back toward him, slower now, her gaze no longer scanning, but searching. You are telling me someone accessed my system without leaving a trace, she said. Marcus nodded once. Yes. No hesitation. No uncertainty. Victoria let out a quiet breath. Not frustration this time, but something closer to recalibration. And you saw this in a few minutes, she added. Marcus did not react to the implication. I saw enough, he said. That answer should have irritated her again. It did not. Instead, it made her step closer. Not abruptly. Not impulsively. Deliberately. She stopped just within his space now. Close enough that the distance between them felt intentional. Then tell me what I am not seeing, she said. Her voice lower. Steadier. But carrying something new underneath it. Not command. Not quite. Marcus looked at her. Really looked this time. And for a moment, the room went quiet in a different way. Not empty. Focused. You are not seeing the pattern, he said. Victoria's brow tightened slightly. What pattern? She asked. Marcus's gaze did not break. The one that keeps repeating, he replied. Another pause. Longer this time. Victoria held his eyes, searching for something he was not giving away easily. And what does that have to do with me? She asked. Marcus's expression stayed calm, but his answer came slower. Everything, he said. The words settled between them, heavier than the rest. Victoria felt it before she understood it. That shift again. That subtle loss of distance. She swallowed once, almost imperceptible, then leaned slightly closer without realizing it. Then do not stop halfway, she said quietly. If you are going to say something, say it. Marcus did not respond immediately, and in that silence, the room seemed to narrow again, pulling them into the same space whether they intended it or not. Marcus did not rush to fill the silence. He let it stretch just long enough to matter, just long enough for her to feel it. Victoria held her ground, but her breathing had changed. Slower, more measured, like she was adjusting to something she had not planned for. Patterns do not just appear, she said finally. Her voice controlled again, but quieter than before. They are created. Marcus gave a small nod. Yes. One word. No explanation. That made her step closer. Not aggressively. Not defensively. Intentionally. The distance between them narrowed until it was no longer casual. Then who created this one? She asked. Marcus looked past her for a moment, toward the far corner of the room where the secondary panel sat hidden behind polished metal. His eyes did not linger long. Just enough. Someone who understands your system, he said. Victoria followed his gaze briefly, then looked back at him. A lot of people understand my system, she replied. That does not make them a threat. Marcus's expression did not change. No, he said calmly. But it makes them capable. The word landed differently. Capable. Not suspected. Not accused. Just able. Victoria's jaw tightened slightly, then relaxed. She turned away from him again. But this time, she did not go to the window. She stopped midway, her hand brushing lightly across the edge of the kitchen counter as if grounding herself in something physical. The movement was small, but the fabric of her dress shifted with it, catching the light in a way that made the moment feel slower than it was. You are suggesting that someone inside my circle is doing this, she said. It was not disbelief. It was calculation. Marcus did not answer immediately. Instead, he moved toward the panel again, opening it once more with a quiet, precise motion. I am saying the system was accessed without resistance, he replied. That usually means permission or trust. Victoria turned back toward him sharply, not with panic, but with focus. I do not give that kind of access lightly, she said. Marcus glanced at her briefly, then returned his attention to the wiring. Most people do not, he said. That is why it works. Another pause. The kind that does not ask for a response, but demands one anyway. Victoria took a step toward him again, slower this time, her heels softer against the floor. She stopped just behind his shoulder, close enough to see what he was doing. But her eyes were not on his hands. They were on him. You are very certain for someone who has been here less than 10 minutes, she said quietly. Marcus adjusted something inside the panel, then closed it again. The click echoed softly in the room. He turned to face her fully now. Time does not change what is there, he said. It only changes when you notice it. Victoria held his gaze. This time, she did not try to control the moment. She let it exist. The city lights behind her reflected faintly in her eyes. But there was something else there now. Something less defined. And what else have you noticed? She asked. Her voice dropped slightly on the last word. Not a command. Not quite a question either. Marcus studied her for a moment. Longer than before. Not searching for weakness. Not judging. Just observing. You do not like being surprised, he said. Victoria let out a small breath that almost sounded like a laugh. But it did not reach her expression. That is not exactly a rare trait, she replied. Marcus shook his head once. No, he said. But the way you react to it is. That made her pause. Really pause. Her eyes narrowed just slightly. But there was no irritation behind it. Only attention. And how do I react? She asked. Marcus did not look away. You do not step back, he said. You step closer. Silence followed again. But this time, it did not feel uncertain. It felt like something had just shifted into place. Victoria realized she was still standing close to him. Closer than she had intended. Closer than she would have allowed with anyone else. She did not move away. Instead, she tilted her head slightly, her voice lowering without effort. And what does that tell you? She asked. Marcus's answer came slower this time. More deliberate. That you are not trying to avoid the problem, he said. You are trying to control it. Victoria held his gaze, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then something softened. Just a fraction. That is usually how I win, she said quietly. Marcus did not smile, did not argue. He simply looked at her, steady and calm. Not always, he said. And for the first time since he walked into her penthouse. Victoria did not have a response ready. Victoria did not look away after his words settled. Not always. The sentence stayed in the air longer than it should have, pressing against the silence that followed. She held his gaze. Steady. Composed. But something underneath it shifted again. Something quieter. Harder to control. You speak like you already know the outcome, she said. Her voice low. Measured. But no longer sharp. Marcus did not move. He stood exactly where he was. Shoulders relaxed. Eyes steady. As if the tension in the room did not belong to him. No, he replied. I speak like I have seen the pattern before. That made her pause. Not visibly. Not in a way most people would catch. But the stillness around her changed. You do not know me, she said. It was not defensive. It was precise. A correction placed carefully. Marcus gave a slight nod. No, he said again. But I know what it looks like when someone builds everything around control and still leaves one door open. Victoria's breath slowed. Just slightly. Enough to notice if you were watching for it. She stepped back this time. Not retreating, but creating space to think. The marble floor felt colder under her heels as she turned toward the window again. Her reflection catching in the glass, framed by the endless grid of city lights behind her. You are making this sound personal, she said quietly. Marcus picked up his tool bag. Not to leave, just to move it out of the way. It usually is, he replied. Victoria let out a slow breath, her fingers brushing lightly along the edge of the glass. Tracing nothing, just feeling something real under her hand. And what exactly do you think I left open? She asked. This time, the question carried something different. Not challenge, not control, curiosity. Marcus did not answer immediately. He walked toward the center of the room instead, stopping where the light from the ceiling fell clean and even. Trust, he said finally. The word landed softer than expected, but heavier. Victoria's hand stilled against the glass. For a moment, she did not turn around. I do not trust easily, she said. The statement was automatic. Practiced. Marcus did not contradict her. No, he said. But when you do not question it. That made her turn. Slowly. Her expression did not break. But her eyes sharpened, searching his face for something she could define. You are assuming I made a mistake, she said. Marcus met her gaze without hesitation. I am saying someone is counting on the fact that you do not think you did, he replied. Silence again. But this one felt different. Not empty. Not uncertain. It felt like something closing in. Victoria took a step toward him. Then another. Her movement slower now. More deliberate than before. The distance between them narrowed again. But this time, it was not tension pulling it closed. It was something else. Something harder to name. You are very confident for someone in your position, she said. There was no insult in it. Just observation. Marcus did not react to the shift. Confidence is not the same as certainty, he said. Victoria stopped just within reach, her voice dropping slightly, almost unconsciously. Then what are you certain about? She asked. Marcus held her gaze for a long moment. Long enough for the question to settle between them. That this is not over, he said. The words landed quietly, but they carried weight. Victoria felt it before she processed it. That subtle tightening again. That sense that something had already started moving beyond her control. She exhaled slowly, her shoulders lowering just a fraction. You keep saying that, she said. Like you expect something else to happen. Marcus did not look away. It already has, he replied. Victoria's eyes narrowed slightly, her attention locking onto him fully now. Then why am I only hearing about it from you? She asked. Marcus's answer came without hesitation. Because I am the only one who is not supposed to notice. That stopped her. Completely. For the first time since he arrived. Victoria did not respond immediately. She just stood there, close enough to feel the shift in the air between them, her mind moving faster than her voice. And when she finally spoke, it was quieter than anything she had said before. Then maybe you were not supposed to be here at all, she said. Marcus's expression did not change, but his answer came slower this time, more deliberate. Maybe, he said, but I am. And somehow, that felt like the real problem. Victoria held his last words in place, letting them settle without reacting too quickly. Maybe you were not supposed to be here at all. The sentence had not been a question. It had been a shift. And now the room felt like it was waiting for something to follow it. Marcus did not move immediately. He stood there, steady, grounded, as if leaving or staying were the same decision to him. People usually know who is supposed to be here, she said after a moment. Her voice calm again, but quieter, more focused. Marcus glanced once toward the door, then back at her. They know who they expect, he replied. That is not always the same thing. Victoria's eyes narrowed slightly, not in irritation, but in concentration. She stepped past him slowly, moving toward the panel again, her hand brushing lightly along the wall, as if retracing something she had already seen. You are suggesting that someone planned for this, she said. Marcus did not answer right away. Instead, he followed her movement with his eyes, watching the way she approached the space, the way she did not hesitate even when something felt off. Yes, he said finally, and they assumed it would go unnoticed. Victoria stopped in front of the panel, her reflection faint in the polished surface. That would require access, she said. And timing. Marcus gave a small nod. It already has both, he replied. Silence pressed in again, heavier this time. Not uncertain. Defined. Victoria exhaled slowly, her posture shifting just enough to show she was no longer treating this as a minor inconvenience. Then whoever did this believes they understand how I operate, she said. Marcus's gaze stayed on her. They understand what you allow, he corrected. That made her turn. Slowly, her eyes locked onto his. Sharper now, more direct. I do not allow mistakes, she said. The words came out controlled, but they carried something else beneath them, something closer to resistance. Marcus did not challenge her. He did not need to. This is not a mistake, he said. It is a decision. The room went still. Completely. Victoria felt it before she could respond. That subtle shift again. The one that did not come from the outside. The one that moved inward. She took a step closer without thinking, closing the space between them again, her voice lowering as it did. Then explain it, she said. Not a command this time. A request. Marcus looked at her for a long moment, measuring something that did not need to be said out loud. Someone needed your system to fail? Just enough to create a gap, he said. Victoria's expression did not change, but her attention sharpened. A gap for what? She asked. Marcus's answer came slower this time, more deliberate. For something else to pass through without being seen, he said. The words landed quietly, but they carried weight. Victoria felt it settle somewhere deeper than she expected. She turned slightly, her gaze drifting toward the far side of the room, as if seeing it differently now. And you saw this because, she started. Marcus did not let her finish. Because it is not the first time I have seen it, he said. That stopped her. Completely. She turned back to him, searching his face now, not for confirmation, but for context. You are not just an electrician, she said. It was not a question. Marcus held her gaze. No, he replied. Simple. Final. Victoria studied him for a moment longer, her mind moving faster than her expression. Then what are you doing here? She asked. Marcus did not answer immediately. He let the question sit between them, letting it carry its own weight. Then, quietly, he said, fixing what you asked for. Victoria exhaled once, a faint breath that carried more tension than relief. She took another step closer, her voice dropping again, softer now, almost careful. And what happens when that is not enough? Marcus did not move, did not look away. Then I do not leave, he said. And for the first time since he walked in, Victoria did not try to hide the reaction that followed. Victoria did not look away when he said it. Then I do not leave. The words did not come with force. They did not need to. They settled into the space between them like something already decided. For a moment, neither of them moved. The city outside continued without them, lights stretching across blocks and avenues. But inside the penthouse, everything felt still, focused. Victoria exhaled slowly, her shoulders lowering just enough to show the shift. Not surrender, not weakness, adjustment. That is not how this works, she said quietly. Her voice was controlled, but it no longer carried the same distance. Marcus did not respond immediately. He watched her, not pressing, not stepping forward, just present. It is how I work, he said. Simple, direct. Victoria held his gaze, studying him again, but differently now. Not as a variable, not as an interruption, as something she had not accounted for. People do not stay, she said after a moment. The statement came out softer than she intended. Not an argument, not a challenge, just fact. Marcus nodded once. Most do not, he replied. The agreement caught her off guard more than disagreement would have. She shifted her weight slightly, her hand moving to rest against the edge of the counter again, grounding herself in something familiar. Then why would you be any different? She asked. Marcus took a step closer this time. Not enough to invade her space. Enough to change it. Because I am not here for the same reason, he said. Victoria's eyes narrowed slightly, her focus locking onto him again. And what reason is that? She asked. Marcus did not answer right away. He let the question sit, letting the silence do what it needed to do. Then, calmly, he said, you called for a fix. I saw something else. Victoria's breath slowed again. That is not an answer, she said. Marcus held her gaze. It is the only one that matters, he replied. The words did not challenge her. They redirected her. And she felt it. That shift again. Subtle. Unavoidable. She stepped closer without realizing it, closing the gap she had been holding earlier. You are not concerned about being wrong, she said. It was not a question. Marcus shook his head once. No, he said. I am concerned about leaving something unfinished. That landed differently. Victoria felt it immediately, not because of what it meant, because of what it implied. She looked at him for a long moment, her expression steady, but her thoughts moving faster than her control. You talk like this is already yours to finish, she said quietly. Marcus did not smile, did not react. No, he said. I talk like I am the one who noticed it. Silence again, but this one felt heavier. Closer. Victoria swallowed once, almost imperceptible, then let out a slow breath. You keep saying that, she said. Like it matters. Marcus's answer came without hesitation. It does, he said. Victoria held his gaze, her posture no longer rigid, no longer guarded in the same way. Something had shifted, not broken, not fallen apart, just opened slightly. Then tell me what happens next, she said. The words came out quieter than anything before. Not a command, not a demand, a request. Marcus did not look away, did not step back. That depends, he said. Victoria's brow tightened slightly. On what? She asked. Marcus's voice lowered just enough to change the weight of it. On whether you keep treating this like a system problem or start seeing it for what it is, he said. Victoria's eyes held his, searching again, but this time without the same need to control the outcome. And what is it? She asked. Marcus paused, just long enough, then said, a decision someone made, expecting you would not question it. The words settled between them, and for the first time, Victoria did not try to correct him. She just stood there, closer than before, quieter than before, and let the possibility exist. Victoria did not respond right away. A decision someone made, expecting you would not question it. The words stayed in place, steady, pressing against something she had not allowed herself to consider before. She stood there, close to him, closer than she had been to anyone in this room, without control being part of it. The city lights reflected faintly across the glass behind her, but she was no longer looking at them. She was looking at him, trying to understand why his certainty felt more real than everything else she had built around her. I question everything, she said finally. Her voice was quiet, but firm. It was the kind of statement she had relied on for years. Marcus did not challenge it. He simply held her gaze. No, he said calmly. You question what you expect to find. Victoria's expression tightened slightly. Not defensive, focused. And what do you think I am not expecting? She asked. Marcus did not answer immediately. He let the silence stretch again, letting it shift the weight of the moment. Then he stepped slightly to the side, just enough to change her line of sight. That it is not about the system at all, he said. Victoria followed his movement, her eyes narrowing just slightly as she recalculated what she thought she understood. Then what is it about? She asked. This time, the question carried less resistance, more curiosity. Marcus looked at her, steady, grounded, like the answer had been there the entire time. It is about access, he said. Victoria's brow tightened. I already told you. Access is controlled, she replied. Marcus shook his head once. Not technical access, he said. Personal. The word landed differently. Victoria felt it immediately. That shift again. Deeper this time. She turned away from him slightly. Not to leave, but to think. Her hand brushed lightly across the counter again, her fingers tracing the surface without purpose. You were saying someone close to me is involved, she said. Marcus did not soften the truth. Yes. Victoria let out a slow breath, her posture lowering just a fraction. That does not narrow anything, she said quietly. Marcus watched her carefully now. It narrows more than you think, he replied. Victoria turned back to him, her eyes sharper now, searching for something specific. Then say it clearly, she said. Do not imply it. Marcus held her gaze, did not look away. Someone you trust had to create that gap, he said. The room went still again, completely. Victoria felt it before she could respond. That tightening in her chest, that quiet realization pressing against her control. She stepped closer without realizing it, her voice lowering again, almost instinctively. And you believe I would not see that, she said. Marcus's answer came without hesitation. I believe you would not want to, he replied. That stopped her, not visibly, but internally, completely. She held his gaze, searching, measuring, but something in her expression softened in a way she could not control. You think I ignore things, she said. It was not anger. It was something more precise. Marcus shook his head slightly. No, he said. I think you protect what you built, even when it starts working against you. The words landed deeper than the others. Victoria exhaled slowly, her shoulders lowering again, not in defeat, but in recognition. She stepped even closer now, the distance between them no longer something she was managing. It simply existed. And what happens if you are right? She asked quietly. Marcus did not move, did not step back. Then the problem is not something I can fix alone, he said. Victoria held his gaze, her voice softer now, almost careful. And what does that mean? She asked. Marcus's answer came slower this time, more deliberate. It means you decide whether to face it or let it continue, he said. Silence followed again, but this one felt different. Not heavy, not uncertain, clear. Victoria stood there, closer than before, her mind moving through possibilities she had not allowed herself to consider. And when she finally spoke, her voice dropped to something quieter than anything before. Then stay, she said. Not a command, not a demand, something else entirely. Not because I need you to fix it, she added, her gaze holding his, but because I do not want to miss what I am not seeing. Marcus did not answer right away. He just stood there, steady, present, and for the first time, the decision was no longer his. Marcus did not answer her immediately. Then stay. The words did not sound like something Victoria Hale said to anyone. Not like this. Not without conditions. Not without control wrapped around them. But there it was. Clear. Unfiltered. He watched her for a moment. Longer than before. As if measuring whether she understood what she had just done. Victoria did not step back. She did not correct herself. She held his gaze. Steady. Even as something in her expression softened in a way she had not allowed all night. You are asking me to stay without knowing what this becomes, he said quietly. It was not resistance. It was clarity. Victoria exhaled slowly, her shoulders lowering just enough to show the shift had already happened. I am asking you to stay because I do not know, she replied. Her voice was calm, but there was no distance left in it. Marcus studied her, not searching for weakness, but for truth. That is not something you say often, he said. Victoria gave the smallest shake of her head. No, she admitted. Silence followed again, but this one felt different. Not heavy, not uncertain. It felt like something settling into place. Marcus glanced once toward the door, then back at her. The exit was still there, still simple, still an option. He did not move toward it. Instead, he set his tool bag down again. Slower this time. Deliberate. The sound was soft, but it carried weight. Victoria noticed immediately. Not the movement, the decision behind it. She did not smile. She did not react outwardly, but her posture shifted again, just slightly, like something inside her had eased without permission. Then we start with what you saw, she said. Not a command. Not anymore. A direction shared. Marcus nodded once. The secondary circuit was not just placed there, he said. It was timed. Victoria's attention sharpened immediately. Time for what? She asked. Marcus stepped toward the panel again. His movements precise. Controlled. For when you would not question it, he said. Victoria's brow tightened slightly. But this time, it was not confusion. It was recognition. There are moments when everything here runs automatically, she said slowly. Late hours. Minimal staff. Fewer variables. Marcus glanced back at her. Predictable patterns, he added. Victoria nodded once. Yes. The word felt heavier now. More specific. She stepped closer again. Not thinking about distance anymore. Only focus. So someone knew exactly when this would go unnoticed, she said. Marcus met her gaze. Someone who has watched it long enough, he replied. The room went quiet again. But not empty. Focused. Victoria's mind moved through names. Faces. Routines. People she had trusted not because she was careless, but because she had built a system that demanded it. Her hand moved slightly, resting against the counter again. But this time, it was not to ground herself. It was to hold on to something steady while everything else shifted. You said this is not the first time you have seen something like this, she said. Marcus nodded. No, Victoria studied him carefully. Then you already know how it ends, she said. Marcus held her gaze for a long moment. It does not end the same way every time, he replied. Victoria's eyes narrowed slightly. That is not an answer, she said. Marcus's voice lowered just enough to change the weight of it. It depends on when you decide to see it, he said. The words settled between them. Clear. And unavoidable. Victoria felt it immediately. That moment. That line. The one where ignoring it was no longer an option. She took a slow breath. Then stepped even closer. Her voice quieter than before. And if I decide now, she said. Marcus did not move. Did not look away. Then it changes everything that happens next, he replied. Silence followed. But this time, it did not feel like a pause. It felt like a beginning. Victoria held his gaze. Steady. Certain in a way that was different from before. Not control. Not certainty. Decision. Then we do not wait, she said. Marcus gave a small nod. No hesitation. No doubt. Just presence. And for the first time that night, neither of them looked toward the door.